Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fourth Tier Fever. I hope you all are having a great day, especially to everyone connected with Bradford City Association Football Club. I hope you all had a lovely Saturday, but we'll get on to them in a little bit. I'm not alone. As always, we are joined by Jake and Luke. How are we, lads?
I'm good. Nice to have a Saturday not ruined by footballers and referees. So hopefully it's not ruined tomorrow on Sky because that'd be even more embarrassing. But nice to have a break.
I mean, I've missed it. I'm ready to go. I want the football. I mean, I might be regretting saying that come the end of Monday, but we'll see.
Yeah, possibly so. We obviously know that both of your sides play against each other tomorrow, but we'll reach that at the end. I can't wait for a little bit of a slanging match in which I hopefully it'll be to kick things off with a little bit of a preview ahead of tomorrow night's game. But there were games yesterday, and we will go through them as always. It'd be great to let us know your opinions of your team yesterday and how you did. Quite a few talking points in League Two this week, but we'll dive straight into the action for what happened in this week's fourth tier. We'll start at Port Vale, I guess, is probably my game of the day. Port Vale against Doncaster Rovers, two sides I've had pretty solid starts to a certain extent. I mean, Darren Moore, the manager of Port Vale, knows Doncaster quite well, player as a manager there as well. But it was Doncaster that came out 3-2 winners in the end. It looked to be a little bit like the Luke Molyneux show. 2 goals for him, and I believe he got the assist for Billy Sharp's goal. He did. It certainly looked an impressive display from him. Ryan Crosdale got equalised at 1-1 for Port Vale, and then there was a late penalty from Ethan Chislett, but not enough as Doncaster held out to secure the victory. Jake, we'll come to you first. We'll start with Doncaster. Another win for them. Looked to be an exceptional performance from Luke Molyneux in particular. A couple of really well taken goals. Early on, because it's from what I think is 2 of the favourites to be somewhat up there. How big of a win is this for Doncaster early on?
Yeah, it's a statement victory. 3 wins from 4 games is always a good start. Lots of goals flying in. A little bit defensively questionable, but no real worries yet, obviously. But it's a really good start.
Yeah, of course. I mean, back-to-back victories in the league as well. Then beating Morecambe last week. I mean, they beat Doncaster beat Accrington on the opening day, lost that game at Newport. So it's been a very solid start. I mean, played Everton in the cup in midweek as well, and it sounded like they gave them a pretty good run for their money, actually. Although, if we're looking at Everton's and them collapsing yesterday, it's I'm not surprised they've given them a game. But Luke, just on Port Vale, a defeat for them yesterday. It's another defeat back to back. Obviously lost at Barrow last time out, quite convincingly lost if you're judging by the scoreline. I don't know. What have you somewhat made of them so far? I mean, it looked like some really nice finishes from Doncaster's end, but it also, as Jekyll, probably some defensively maybe question marks over their goals. But I'm not sure what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I highlighted it last week. Port Vale's defending, they just don't track their men, and they've not learned their lesson. I mean, it's all well and good being, a decent attacking side, but if you're not going to do the hard work to keep goals out at the other end, you're not going to do all that well. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, they've got lots of quality in their side, and, against the bottom half teams, then, they could probably get away with it a little bit more. But when you're up against a team with the quality of Doncaster, especially when they've got an informed Luke Molyneux, you can't afford to not track him. Like, you have to. If you want to actually have any chance of getting anything from the game at all, you've got to get the basics right. And for me, they're not doing that in defence at the minute.
Yeah, which somewhat feels a little bit off-brand, actually, for a Darren Moore side, to be fair. Because we know how he likes to set his teams up. They're normally quite solid, quite defensively as well. And with the side that Port Vale have, they can hurt teams. Still early days, granted. It's a saying that I've said a lot over these last few podcasts, and I'll keep saying it. But still 4 games in. But you know, six goals conceded in their last 2 is never really a good look. And you can maybe look at some of those goals in particular. I look at potentially Billy Sharp's one, a little bit messy on their part, but I thought Donny worked it well. But I was thinking at the start of the day, I think whoever won this would probably be a little bit of a statement win. I think because you've got 2 sides that will want to be up there. They've certainly got the squad to be up there. Certainly got the managers. And it's Donny that's come out on top, and it looks like that. Yeah, they could have had a couple more. I mean, Port Vale had chances as well, but I felt like Donny was somewhat deserving of that actually. With the way they're set out. I mean, stats wise, it looked pretty even, but I think Donny held out pretty well, in fact. And yeah, high praise for Luke Molyneux. You know, if they're going to get promotion, he'll be a big player to watch out for. They did really well, I think, to keep him. In fact, he had a very good second half of the season in particular. A couple of other names as well. I mean, Billy Sharp with the goal. Jordan Gibson played a really big part in this game as well, looking at it. And a couple of others as well. So, yeah, I think that's a really big win for Doncaster early on. And obviously they'll be pleased with that back-to-back now. And, yeah, they'll be looking to continue that. We'll move on to the game, which probably has a little bit of a talking point because of what happened shortly after that game. We'll go to Carlisle. They lost 2-1 at Tranmere. If you didn't see, Amari Patrick coming back to haunt Carlisle with 2 goals, 2 really well taken goals, I must say. The goal from Davis, Archie Davis, was not enough, but it seemed like a pretty impressive away performance actually from Tranmere. Although looking at it, Carlisle probably had the better of the chances. He had more of the chances, but couldn't quite find that killer touch. But obviously, the big news wasn't about the game itself. It was afterwards. Shortly afterwards, we saw the first League Two managerial casualty of the season. Paul Simpson being relieved of his duties as Carlisle boss. We discussed this on the pod last week that after the MK defeat, that his time could be coming to an end. I've seen quite a few disgruntled fans over the last few weeks and heading into the season. They've not started the best. The writing, I'll be honest, on my part did sort of seem a little bit on the wall. I'm not sure if you think the same, Jake.
Yeah, it felt like it's been coming from probably last December with the poor performances, and obviously they signed League Two quality in January, but hasn't really had the effect they would have wanted to start the season. They've only won 1 so far, conceding loads of goals. They definitely need someone that can just come in and maybe not even play pretty football, just get some confidence back in them and get rid of that losing culture.
Yeah, and I think it somewhat transpires into obviously what they had in League One last year without, well, if we're going to be truthful, they were awful. They were absolutely awful in League Two. To be in League One, sorry. I'm getting confused. I mean, they've not been the best in League Two alone. But I just want to carry on Paul Simpson. I mean, second spell there. Did really well to get promoted in his first year in charge. Had a really good season. I think he's someone that will rightly go down as a fan's favourite, arguably a legend at Carlisle, don't you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like he's done a lot for the club, and I mean, in a way, the reason he's going now isn't necessarily because he's like, oh yeah, a bad coach or anything like that. He's still a good manager. It's just a change of mentality, really. I mean, you look at the results they've had in isolation this season. You're looking at losing to Gillingham, who are expecting to be at the top, beating Barrow, who have started well, lost to us, who are supposed to be at the top, and again Tranmere, who we are expecting to be towards the top end. And I suppose it's ambition in some sense because I'm guessing they want to challenge towards the top end of the league, and they've just lost to 3 potential promotion rivals. But I think Simpson has done a fantastic job. I think it was just that it's the change in mentality that's needed. And I think we sort of had a similar thing with Carl Robinson years ago. We had him for so long and he achieved so much, but there just sort of comes a time when a change is necessary.
Yeah, exactly. And I do feel that it's sort of the right time. Like I said, I think the writing has been somewhat on the wall for a little bit of time now, but it sort of feels like when we got rid of Paul Hurst, actually, that the job he did for us, he's the first one that would leave with my best wishes, and he has, and certainly, I mean, he got a good job in League One with Shrewsbury, although not been the best of starts, although he had a really good win yesterday. Sam from the League One Lowdown is probably not too impressed, but that's for another conversation. But no, he'd be rightly so remembered by how much of a brilliant manager he has been. Second spell, I believe, from what I saw, I could be wrong, but Carlisle have had three promotions in recent years, and Paul Simpson was a spearhead of all three of them. So will rightly so be remembered as a really good manager for them. Quick note on Tranmere. Another win yesterday, but back to back for them now after beating Walsall last week. They did concede their first goal, but I think they'd be quite happily to not have a clean sheet if it meant a really good 3 points on the road. And Amari Patrick, again, the former Carlisle man, has really settled into life at Tranmere brilliantly, hasn't he?
Yeah, Amari Patrick has a lot of quality. And we've seen that probably not last season when he was at Sutton, but the season before when he obviously helped Carlisle to get promoted. So for him to now score 2 against them, and obviously to get Paul Simpson sacked would have been hard for Paul Simpson to see. But Tranmere are really building something well. Obviously a really good week last time, beating Walsall with their first defeat. So they're building something nicely. They just need to keep it going for a little bit longer.
Absolutely, yeah. I thought the goals were really well taken as well, especially the second one, just the pass and move from the corner of them to find a finish from, I think, just outside the box was really impressive. It was a really good display from him, and pretty much a really good away performance from Tranmere. It looked like they were under the cosh a little bit, but that's you just got to hold out for in away games, haven't you? And they certainly did that to claim another victory, in which Nigel Atkins, I'm sure, will be really pleased about. We'll move on to the next game. We'll do our game. I think we'll head on to Grimsby Bradford. It's one of those games in which, quite local. It's always a game that us in particular are up for. Certainly for Bradford's end, but if we're judging by on the pitch yesterday, the only team that were more up for it was us. I thought we were excellent from minute 1 to minute 90. I thought throughout there was only going to be one winner. I think it did take a little bit of time to settle. I think the first 25 minutes were a little bit dull, but we got that goal. Questionable on Bradford's part with the goalkeeping, but you've got to be there, and Danny Rose was there, our top goal scorer last year, off the mark for the season. And then from sort of there for most of the period, it was one-way traffic. I feel was in terms of opportunities at half time, we probably should have been about 3-0 up. Corey missed a brilliant chance for what was a really lovely team goal, which spad for like Rose Van Thorsten, then up to Chaz, and then Denver Hume. Then we had a 2v1 shortly after that with Rose. I think he was trying to pick out Van Thorsten, but they cut that out. We had a couple of other chances as well, but I think our main problem is probably trying to kill teams off. I mean, that's certainly one of them, what we've seen, especially in the past few years, actually. And we got that second just before halftime. Really nice team goal. I don't think that if you see the highlights, it doesn't really do it justice. It was a lovely team goal, passing out from the back. Started from Jordan Wright, back to the whole defender. From left back to right back, from the centre half to Warren. Played it down the channel to Green. I thought Kelly was a bit soft there defending him, but it's really nice work from Greeny, who I thought was absolutely terrific yesterday. And he's sort of been a little bit the scapegoat in recent weeks. There's probably been a bit of arguments if he's probably League 2 quality. I thought it was his best game in a Township by absolute miles yesterday. He absolutely ran the show. And he picked out Yassins Van Thorsten for his first goal in English football, and I'm really pleased for him because he's had a little bit of a stop-start time so far, but we can see that he has quality, and he'll only get better as time goes on. And it's always nice. It's nice to see him off the mark for the season. Then just again, we had a couple of other chances with Corey. He played really well. Nearly picked out Rose again. He just missed out on a tap in. We probably should have been out of sight. The only disappointment was their goal. I thought it was really poor on our behalf. We don't close it down quick enough, and I've got to say it's really poor from Jordan Wright. The way he's just parried it straight into the attack of straight into the path of Sanderson. who's tapped it in. But to be honest, I wasn't really worried. As much as I thought we were really impressive, and there was a lot of good stuff to take from that. I'm going to be completely honest. I thought Bradford were terrible. They were absolutely appalling. They looked miles off it. But that's taking nothing away from us. There was only going to be one winner. I think, especially going from 1-0 up, and that would have been us. And it flattered Bradford. If I'm going to be honest, the scoreline flattered him. On another day, we win that 4-5-1 without question. But just Jake, just something just to come to us. Obviously, I think it was important that we needed a response after Notts County. That's 2 wins from 2 now at home. If we're going back to last season, I think that's 4 wins in a row. At home. Sorry. How big will Grimsby's home form be this season? I mean, we've heard Artell obviously mention that we really want to make Blundell Park a fortress, as he's been stated that it's been quite a nice place to come for teams over the past few years. But 4 wins in a row, how important will Grimsby's home form be?
Yeah, home form's always important because that's where the majority of your fans will see you. And if fans have question marks over David Artell, like we've said in previous pods, to get that home form will really get the fans on side for away games, which then eventually will transpire to make the away fans better and make it a better atmosphere, which will help Grimsby long term.
Yeah, of course. I think the next thing for us now is just to improve on that away form if we're going from the start of last season, just the 2 away wins all season, which Salford was one of them. But we'll quickly touch on Bradford. I mean, they've obviously started the season pretty well. They obviously beat your side, Luke MK Dons, on the opening day. They've been pretty solid, couple of wins there, a couple of decent results. If we're going back to last season, I think they were 10 unbeaten in a row. Well, they were 10 unbeaten. So that's their unbeaten run. That's come to an end as well. But please tell me you share the same thoughts that I thought at times they looked all over the place yesterday.
Oh yeah, no, they did, and I do think credit to Grimsby for that, because I did see the highlights, and some of the passages of play were impressive. And I'm saying that from a possession football perspective as well. And I think that is more typically Artell. But I think on Bradford, they were very poor. I think you could see from the fan reactions alone. I did find it quite funny that a lot of their comments were we're saying how Grimsby are not a good footballing side or whatever, but Bradford, your style is hoofball. So
I've seen some right interesting comments. I mean, that lad who did a video saying that we're a poor side. I mean, we've already beaten them twice this season, so I think that says a lot about Bradford, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. And I've seen a couple saying that, but yeah, relegation can. Honestly, I think there'll be much worse sides than us that will be in and around there this year. I honestly think we'll get better as time goes on. We've got a plan. We're going to stick to it. It's not always going to be plain sailing. There's going to be times where we get absolutely hammered, as we've seen. I mean, I'm used to the odd hammering now. But there'll also be periods this year in which I can see us absolutely hammering other teams as well on our part. There will be times in which I think we can win games like 3-4-0 with the way they play. But it was really hugely promising yesterday. We've just got to keep it up for 90 minutes now. That's the main thing. And also, just to quickly point out, that was our first league win over Bradford since 1998, which that was long overdue, that victory. So it did feel sweet leaving Blundell Park yesterday. But no, really pleased on our part. And taking up to Chesterfield next week, which will be another tough game awaits. But no, that's certainly given us a lot of confidence heading into the rest of the season. We'll quickly move on we'll move on from that one. We did mention Chesterfield. We'll move on to their game at Gillingham, a 1-0 win for the Gills, top of the league there. An early goal from, I believe it was Robbie McKenzie, which just sort of set their way from a well-taken free kick. Maybe a couple of question marks on the marking, perhaps. Both sides finished with 10 men. Hermer getting a second yellow for the Gills, and then later on Shea Dunkley with a second yellow late on, which is on our part is good because I rate Shea Dunkley massively, and he'll be missing next week, which is big for us. So it might give us a little bit of a chance away, but with some of their quality, it'll be really tough. But yeah, that's for that one. on Gillingham, really good start to the season for them. 3 wins and a draw. Again, it just feels like a little bit more of another statement victory for me. They got that goal, and I mean, Chesterfield had the chances of it. They hit the post a couple of times. I think was it Oldacre with a free kick, and I think Dobra hit there as well. So they had chances, but it's another big win at home for Gillingham, and top of the league. I don't think they could really ask for a much better start, can they?
No, it's a perfect start. They have big expectations this year, and they're only going to get better, like you said. Obviously, Bradley Dack's yet to feature. I think he's back soon, which will be another huge boost to them. Not conceding many like usual, scoring plenty, which makes a nice change for them. Certainly want to keep an eye on.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we know that, once they do have Bradley Dack firing, if they can keep him fit, we know how much of a menace he can be in League Two. Streets ahead of quality for this division. But it's a really good result for Gills as well. And they did have to do. We know that Gills are going to be defensively solid. They always have been in League Two. We have obviously questioned their goal scoring. I don't think there's really any excuses this year with the quality that they have got, with the money that they have spent. It seemed a really good performance actually, and they held out for a really important win against Chesterfield, who haven't started too badly back to life in the in League Two. But it's always going to. But Priestfield is always going to be a difficult place to come, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Gillingham have grinded out a result there, and to be honest, from the chances Chesterfield have, I have no idea how they've not scored. A little bit embarrassing for them because they had more than enough chances to, at least get one. But in the grand scheme of things, I think it's just a little bit for Chesterfield. There are going to be those days where the quality isn't quite there. They were still generating chances, which is a good sign. And long term, you're looking at performances over results. So although this is in theory it's a poor result, you lost to a potential promotion rival. In the long term, you'd expect them to win a lot more games playing like that.
Yeah, and I think, as you alluded to, I think they can feel a little bit unlucky with some of their chances. Like I mentioned, the one that hit the bar from the free kick, but I think the Dobra one in particular. That was just really unfortunate that it hit the post that it did. But it certainly seemed like they have chances. I don't think Gillingham will concede many chances. I don't think they'll never concede many goals, as I've alluded to. But it did look like they did quite a bit that score yesterday, and I think they might feel a little bit aggrieved that they've not taken at least a point away from that. And I think probably it might have been probably a fair result. But full props to Gills. I mean, they did what they needed to do. They got that goal early on. I do think it's slightly questionable, the goal on Chesterfield's part, for the fact they just lose Robbie McKenzie. But I mean, it's credit to him. I mean, it's clever play from him with the free to get in that position from the free kick. But no, I mean, both sides finishing with 10 men, as I've mentioned, and it seemed to be pretty solid victory for Gills. That keeps them obviously top of the league, in which it's a good trend to set early on. In which they'll be more than pleased about. We'll head on to Crewe. We know that Crewe haven't had the best of times so far this season. Just the 1 point picked up before this. They obviously got hammered by Chesterfield. And then they obviously took the trip to Bromley, who have started pretty well. It looks like they've settled into life in League Two really well. Obviously lost at Bradford last week, though. But I think at home against Crewe, who are struggling for goals and struggling for points at the minute, it was a really good opportunity. For a large part of that game, it looked like they were doing it. Lewis Lee, I believe he was at Crewe for a brief period last year. I know he was at Bromley before, but I believe he was at Crewe as well. And it looked for a large part they were going to win that. They were winning for a large part as well. But yeah, a real late resurgence from Crewe, it must be said, with Mickey Demetriou and Chris Long, in which I'll be looking at Chris Long's goal. Really good work from Jake Lancaster in particular to set him up. But I mean, it was much needed for Crewe, wasn't it? They really needed a result, didn't they?
Yeah, Crewe have really struggled so far this season, and we've obviously asked questions of Lee Bell on this pod. But obviously, midweek they played in the Papa John's and scored 5, so they've obviously gained a lot of confidence from that going into this game. Bromley's not going to be an easy place to go to for anyone, so to come away with a late win will be very pleasing for them.
Yeah, of course. I think the manner in which the way they did it as well. I mean, as an away fan, it must have been good to nick it quite late after scoring the equaliser pretty late as well. But quick note on Bromley, winning for most of that time. I think they took the lead in the second or third minute, so they scored really early on. It was a really nice finish from Lewis Lee. Just hammered it into the roof of the net. It was a really nice move for that goal as well. But for them to concede the equaliser in the 83rd minute, I'm just having a look at it, to concede the equaliser in the 83rd minute and to then lose it in the 91st minute after winning for so long, it must be a bit of a difficult one to take, surely.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. Like, you're just trying to hold on, finish off the result, especially against the side that up until now have actually lacked the quality to, put anyone else away. I think the one thing for me is, although it is obviously a poor result for Bromley in that sense to be winning for most of the game and to then end up losing right at the death, but it's now about the bounce back with them, because obviously they are one of the smaller sides in the division. You need to see how their squad reacts to that sort of adversity of losing a game that they really should have won.
Yeah, I think it certainly seems to be the case on paper early doors. Obviously they did lose at Bradford last week, as I alluded to. He had 10 men for most of that. So, them back at home against a side that have clearly struggled at the start of the season. It was a great opportunity for them. And it looked like for a large part that, they'd do it. But, yeah, they sort of just crumbled it. Yeah, but it's full credit to Crewe. I don't think many will go to Barrow. Not Barrow. I'd probably the same as Barrow. But I don't think many teams will go to Bromley this year and pick up the result. We know what type of team Bromley are. They're a really physical side, but they do play nice football. They're not just a bunch of big bastards, as what we've maybe seen, as much as that we have seen that from Bromley, and they're really efficient to how they play. They can play some nice football, and I think that first goal sort of proved it as well on their part. But yeah, I think to lose it pretty late on, and I think in the manner they did, I'd certainly be disappointed if I was a Bromley fan. That's safe to say. But for Crewe, it's a great way to get you the first win of the season, to get that monkey off the back a little bit. I think, if truth be told, with how poorly they started. I mean, Jake alluded to that, picked up a good result in the Bristol Street Motors the other week, but I couldn't care less, to be honest, about that. That needs binning, but that's for a different discussion. But now, full credit to Crewe. It relieved the pressure, I think, on them a little bit from obviously their start of the season, which has been obviously far from ideal. Obviously they did lose quite a few players in the summer, but yeah, certainly far from ideal from their start. But yeah, it was really important to get that first win as quickly as they can, and they certainly did that. We'll do one more before we head to a break. We'll talk about Notts County. We know that, again, Swindon are another side that's not had the best of starts. I mean, they picked up that draw at Chesterfield on the opening day, but they got hammered by Walsall. I mean, they had that game against Crewe, in which was awful. It was just absolutely awful, an absolute snores fest. I think it was always going to be a tough ask against Notts County, who have started pretty well. A couple of draws in their opening games, and then they hammered us. But the less said about that, the better. But they went early on. They went behind quite early on from sort of their own doing. That's the con, I think, to if you're going to play from the back, as it were. And I think the midfield lost it, and Gavin Kilkenny on his debut with the strike. It was a really good one, but I mean, Notts turned it around, and two excellent strikes from David McGoldrick, as it were. The second one in particular, the way he just took that down and found the top corner. I mean, the first goal was just equally impressive as well. But yeah, it's another big win for Notts County. 2 wins and 2 draws to start the season. It's a pretty good start, I'd imagine, and going to Swindon as well. Probably not at the best of times. You've got to win that, and you've got to find a way to win with them going 1-0 down, and they certainly did that, didn't they?
Yeah, it's a really impressive victory for them. Going from 1-0 down and then coming back to win is something we've seen them do a lot, with obviously the game against Fleetwood where they went 2-0 down and then a late equaliser. but it's really impressive start. They're not conceding many. A little bit worried over the goal they conceded, like you said, with playing out from the back. A little bit of same problem they had last season, so they want to eradicate that, but no real concerns and really good start.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's the sort of goal you're always going to concede playing like that we did. I mean, I'm fully expecting us to concede some goals like that with how we played. But although, like I said, if we looked at our second goal yesterday, it looks bloody brilliant if it does come off. But no, I think that's probably the only annoying parts from that. I mean, not said more possession I expected them to. They've obviously got so many players that can hurt you. Dan Crowley, Jody Jones, we've said it for weeks on end now. I think Jatta missed this one from what I was aware. But I mean, it's given David McGoldrick that chance to come back in the squad, and he's certainly taken it. 2 goals from the veteran there. But Swindon, I mean, I think it was always going to be a tough one heading into this one, but yet to pick up a victory this season. It's another home defeat for them. The thing is, though, I don't think it's not a problem that's just this season as well. I think it's a sort of carrying on from last season as well, under a new manager what they got in Mark Kennedy, but and some of the new players they have got. And I do think that Swindon have recruited pretty smartly, but I just feel like at the minute there are times in which we're starting to see the same problems as what they were last year, especially second half of the season where they were so poor. Truth be told.
Yeah, I think it's just going to take them a little bit of time to click, really. I mean, you come up against a not side that has had an established style of play for a while now. Yes, they've rebuilt their defence, but it's been quite a seamless transition for them. And, I mean, they did manage to get on the score sheet. Again, it was perhaps a little bit of a gift, but it was still a very good finish. But then it's just, with the 2 goals they've conceded, it's just closing down. You know, you've got a player that spent most of his career at a higher level. You can't give him space on the edge of the box to shoot, especially not the second time when you've already conceded to it once. But
yeah.
You know, there are signs there, but you know, there's something to build off of. But you know, ideally you want the results coming sooner rather than later. Yeah,
clearly lessons weren't learnt there. As much as we go on about 2 excellent strikes from McGoldrick, I think you're pretty much right there with the closing down. Just no one got near him. And we know how good McGoldrick's finishing is. I mean, he's done it at the top level for years now. He had that really good season at Derby before he joined Notts County as well. So we know that, you know, he's getting a little bit older now. I think he's 35, 36, he's around that age, but he certainly proves that he's still got it. But like you said, it might be a little bit of time to click for Swindon, but I think they need that win as quickly as possible to really, I think, calm their nerves down a little bit, because it's not been the most ideal of starts. It's certainly not the worst start by any means, but as we'll head on to a little bit later, but it's certainly not probably the start they probably expected. It did look like they did have chances though, so it wasn't, you know, I'm even with this new look Notts County side defensively, I still think you can have chances. I think we did when we went there. They are prone to concede chances too. I think they can, teams can still score goals, but obviously not to the extent that teams will score 4 or 5 against them like they were last year, which was just ridiculous, in which Notts County will still probably score about 5 or 6. But Notts have got the quality here, and that's what they did to Swindon yesterday. But yeah, couple of concerns for Swindon, but again, still early, isn't it? But I do worry it's like a little bit of a trend from last season as well, with how, especially the second half of the season, how they sort of crumbled and they were really poor. And I think, if this went on all season, they'd be right bang in trouble. But well, we'll hit that bridge when it comes. If we'll see if they'll carry on that. But yeah, they need that win as quickly as they can. Right, we'll head to a quick break. We'll run back the rest of the games in a minute, including a little bit of preview for Salford MK Dons with Jake and Luke next to me, which I can't wait for that. But yeah, we'll see you in a few minutes. And here we are for part 2 of this week's Sportive Fever. Thank you for everyone that's still with us. We'll head on to the next game. I do want to touch on Morecambe, their game against Newport. I mean, Kieran's not here again, but I mean, we did start a little bit later than planned. He just missed us, which is unfortunate from the shop. I won't give too much away there, but it's another it's another victory for Newport. 3 wins in a row now after the opening day defeat that they had at Cheltenham. Again, the goal came from a mistake at Morecambe's ends with the goalkeeper Stuart Moore passing to Aaron Wildig, the former Morecambe man who punished him. But from reading it, it looks like Morecambe were all right. They certainly had. It certainly looked like they had the better of the game. 20 shots to Newport 7. It certainly looked like they can get chances off, but the moral of the story is that's now 4 defeats in a row, and they still haven't scored yet. It's clearly not through the lack of trying. I think Morecambe will certainly be hoping that eventually their duck will be broken, but it's not a good look early on, is it?
No, it looks like a real worrying season, like we all expected from them. 4 defeats, 4 1-0 defeats as well. Last two defeats have really been because of goalkeeper giving the ball away, which is obviously it's a tough blow for them. It's really worrying, especially when they've brought in Marcus Dackers as a man to get them goals, who's struggled in League Two. But they just need, once they get one, they obviously have Crewe away next week, which 2 sides that are struggling. Obviously, Crewe have just turned it around. So hopefully they can just get a goal at least and then give themselves something to build off.
Yeah, I think, you alluded to Marcus Dackers in the week in which you're probably not his biggest fan from what I'm aware, and you probably question if he's the answer to Morecambe's problems, in which seems unlikely. Maybe, you never know. But yeah, as I say, Morecambe did have chances, and on another day, I think they'll be unfortunate to not get something from that. But ultimately, it's another mistake from, I think, Stuart Moore. I think is in the Morecambe goal. You can't be doing that, and it's a really poor goal on their part, and I'd be livid with the goalkeeper. It's another mistake for him, but it's another big win for Newport. 3 wins in a row from them. Obviously, they had that run dating back to last season, that horrible run in which I think it was like 8 or 9 games straight defeats. So I could be wrong there, but they certainly were on a real bad losing spell, and it looked to be continuing after losing at Cheltenham the other day. But 3 wins in a row for them now. One of them against Doncaster, the other against Accrington and Stanley. Yeah, they've started well, haven't they?
Oh yeah, no, they have, and they're just grinding out the results, playing some decent football along the way. I mean, what more can you want? I think they've got Port Vale next, which I think that will be a really interesting game, actually, because we were talking earlier about Port Vale's defensive woes, and I think you're going to get 2 sides that I think should create a lot of chances against each other. I think it could be quite a telling result, whoever runs away with that one.
Yeah, and I don't think there's really too much to argue with that. Yeah, if you're Newport, I think there was a couple of question marks over Newport. I think we looked at their squad. We looked at some of their signings on paper. You probably looked at maybe, the players were quite young that they brought in. There was quite a lot of inexperience in which they brought in there, but it looks like they've really clicked well to start with. And it's taken me pleasantly by surprise. It's just a question of whether they can keep it up. But it's certainly been a really encouraging start for them and for their gaffer Nelson Jardine, in which again had a couple of maybe question marks over him about we feel suit League Two because he's inexperienced for this division, but it's settled in pretty well. Yeah, I think if you're Newport, I think you're really pleased with that start. But yeah, as I've alluded to, a couple of question marks over Morecambe. 4 games in a row in which they haven't found the back of the net. 4 defeats. I think all 4 were 1-0 defeats as well. And I mean, we're going off 5 games without a goal if we're counting the Carlisle Cup tie against Huddersfield. I think they played, but that was always going to be a tough one in its own ranks. But yeah, I'm early on. I'm worried for them. I think I've always looked at their squad and I struggle to see much quality in there. If I'm going to be completely honest, there's a few good names in there. I do like George Ray. I do like a couple of others as well, but I think he's out injured. I think they signed from Liverpool, which his name escapes me. Reece Williams, I think that could be. It's really interesting how his career has gone pretty downhill actually after somewhat breaking through at Liverpool. But it seems like a bit of a coup for League Two. But yeah, I'm not sure on their quality. I'll be honest with some of the players in that squad. I do like Gwion Edwards actually. He's all right, but the rest, not convinced. I'll be completely honest. But I do feel like we say this a lot. But 4 games in, there's still plenty of time to turn that around. But I think already at this stage they've got to turn that around and they've got to be quick for it. As you've alluded to, they've got Crewe next week. They'll obviously be on a high of winning at Bromley yesterday. But ultimately, I think if you're Morecambe, you do look at their start actually, and you do look at Crewe's home form in particular. If we're dating back to around March time, think actually there might be something on here. I might possibly think that as a Morecambe fan, if I'm going to be honest. But they need to break this cycle and they need to break it quick. Otherwise, it's already looking like a bit of a long season for them already. But I think them losing yesterday, I think, is gone. I think it's gone already. I think it's gone from all right. Is there maybe a little bit of worry? I'm starting to think that there is quite a bit. If I'm going to be honest, even with Derek Adams in charge. But like I said, from reading it, from looking at it, there's a little bit more to be encouraged by to suggest that they will break their duck eventually. But yeah, the quicker they do that, the better on their part. But so yeah, that's them. We'll move on to. Who should we go on? We'll move on to Walsall. They've started really well, haven't they? Another win for them against Cheltenham. I mean, Cheltenham. I mean, it looks like they do score, they do concede, but it's another big win for Walsall. Nathan Lowe, the loanee from Stoke, I believe, really catching the eye. Another goal for him. It looked like he could have had another. I think he hit the post as well. Really nice taking finish from Jamil Matt as well. I believe from a little bit of a cheeky back heel. George Miller got one back for Cheltenham, but it just proved too little too late. But it looked like on the balance of play, it looked like Walsall deserved to win that. It looked like they were by far the better team. What have you made of their start of the season, Jake? Because I think, I think you're pleased, aren't you, if you're a Settlers fan?
Yeah, very pleasing start for them. Obviously catching many people by surprise. People probably didn't fancy them to be up there. But lots of, 4-0 win against Swindon, beating Huddersfield in the Cup midweek. Really good sign for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned the Huddersfield result as well. I think we're 2-0 down from what I recall. And then I think I'm right in saying Huddersfield had a red card and then they really turned it around. But no, it's a credit to Walsall. It's a credit to Matt Sadler, who, I'll be honest, had a couple of question marks about heading into the season. I certainly had a couple of question marks with their goal threat at the start of the season. I wasn't quite sure if Jamil Matt and maybe Josh Gordon, as it were the answer. But they brought in Nathan Lowe. And it looks like he's made a real impact and will continue to make a big impact at Walsall, which is pleasing for him. I remember him. I think he scored last year for Stoke. I think he was at Bristol City. This is incredible ball knowledge from me, if this is correct. But I remember him. I think it was him that scored at Bristol City. And I remember it being a really well taken goal. But it looks like there's a big player there with a big future. I mean, on deadline day as well, they brought in George Hall. Youngster from Birmingham. I know that he's quite highly rated over there, but obviously with the state of Birmingham squad, that he wasn't really going to get much of a look in. So they've loaned him out to Walsall, and I think for League Two, that's a really nice signing. I think if they can play to his strengths, I generally think he could be one of the best players in the division. I'm not taking the mickey there. Couple of question marks on, I think, Cheltenham. They obviously won on the opening day with that last-minute win against Newport, but it's now 3 defeats in a row for them. Them losing at Grimsby, they lost last week at Wimbledon, and now they lost this week to a Walsall side who are really who have started really well. I've heard there's maybe a couple of question marks maybe on Michael Flynn already at the minute, but I mean, three defeats in a row is never a good habit to be in. But again, it just proves that they can score goals. But again, I think they've been quite leaky early on, haven't they?
Oh yeah, no, they have been. I think they've really struggled for consistency. They've made a lot of changes over the summer, so maybe a slow start is to be expected, but eventually there has to be a point where something starts to click. And yes, they can score goals, but if you can't keep them out, I've said it about plenty of other teams. If you can't keep them out, you're not going to pick up that many points. And yeah, I'd really love to see them just grind out a really boring 1-0 win or just anything like that, some kind of solid result that suggests that they can compete without just having to outscore the opposition.
Yeah, exactly. And you've alluded to there was massive summer change at Cheltenham. They obviously lost some of their main players, so to speak, and they've obviously replaced them with quite a lot of players. I think Michael Flynn trusts, and a couple of others as well, in which I think are pretty good players for League Two level. It could be the element that it needs a little bit more time to click, because they were, I think they were the most busiest. They were the busiest side in League Two in terms of the transfer window. I could be wrong there, but we know that they've certainly got a little bit about them. But I mean, it's never nice to see three defeats in a row. And I do think we're at this day and age in football where you do question the manager, or maybe a little bit after maybe 3 defeats, especially if it's quite early on, as awful as it is to say. But I think it's the truth. I think I think managers are under more pressure each year. I think it's not just a particular club. I mean, more clubs will obviously be more on it than others, but I just think it's a whole football thing. But yeah, I mean, from looking at obviously the highlights and with some of that, it looked like it for a large period of that it was one-way traffic, and Walsall looked like they thoroughly deserved the win. But I mean, a couple of maybe question marks on that. But again, they do. Again, they're a bit like Morecambe, to not that extent, for the fact that they've lost 4 in a row without score. But they do need to break that duck, in which they do need a win. As you've alluded to, I think they do need to maybe see if they can maybe grind out a 1-0 win, where probably they've not been maybe playing well, but but they're the most important wins. We need to see that. But as you said, I think it could potentially be more to do with the players coming in, because there was a big turnover of players, obviously, with them under a new manager. I mean, 4 games is not. I do say you do probably look to question maybe at times, but 4 games is still way too early to really call for Michael Flynn anyway. So there'll be a work in progress, that's for sure. But yeah, they do need to get that result just to break that duck a little bit. Excuse me, early on, which I think they sort of need to. But good win for Walsall. Them second in the table now. Just 2 goals conceded on their part as well, which also suggests that they don't concede an awful lot either. We'll move on to Wimbledon. Luke's best friends, we know that for a fact. But no, it didn't seem the best of games. But I think when we did these predictions on our Twitter, I didn't think we'd predicted this to be anything but a special game. And it certainly didn't seem the case. But it was a really good goal from Nerfil, I believe it was, for their goal. But it's a 1-0 win for Wimbledon. It keeps their decent start going. 9 points from 4 games. Fleetwood's first defeat of the season. It ends their unbeaten run. It could have had maybe a couple more. I think Wimbledon. I remember a chance from I think it was Matty Stevens, in which was going through, made a really good save from the keeper. I think Fleetwood had chances of their own. It was a goal mile scramble, I believe. I'm not sure I can't remember if that was Fleetwood's end or Wimbledon's, but it's a good. I think it's a good win for Wimbledon. 1-0 win, clean sheet at home. Can't really ask for much more, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a really good win for them. Obviously, not much expectation on them this season, but I'm sure that they'll want to get into the playoffs, and they're ticking along nicely. 6 goals scored, 4 conceded. Nothing to be concerned about. So really exciting to see what happens for them this season. Yeah,
I think they're another team in which I don't think they'll concede many goals. But I also get that impression that I don't actually think they'll score that many. I think I say that like they haven't just scored 4 against Colchester on the opening day. But I mean, yeah, I just get that impression with them. There's no doubt that they've got some really good players, and their aim will be hopefully to make the next step. They had what was safe to say difficult first season in League Two. They were much better last year. Solid mid-table finish, but they were an outside shout for a playoff spot for quite a bit of it until it sort of just petered out near the end. And they'll hopefully want to go one better and hopefully try and crack into those playoffs this year. Obviously, it'll be really difficult with some of the quality of the teams, but I believe they're more than capable. I've certainly seen that from them with some of the players that they have got. But just a quick note on Fleetwood. We all know they've had a really good start to the season. In fact, they've been quite solid. They've scored a few goals. They're in the next round of the Carabao Cup as well. They've beaten West Brom and Rotherham to get to there. So overall, it's been a decent start. But yeah, it's first defeat of the season. How do you think they'll probably take that? For the fact that it's with the quality that they have got. I mean, teams are going to lose games, aren't they? But how do you think? Obviously, they'll take into the fact that they've been on this good run, and the fact that this is a new, different sort of challenge for them, in the fact of them trying to respond, so to speak.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think this one will bother them too much. I mean, it was one of those sort of grind out games we were talking about before. So 1-0, although it's not ideal, it's not it's not like a season ending sort of moment or anything like that, especially not at this stage. And I'm now sort of looking forwards, and they don't actually play another league game till 14th of September now, which will be away at Carlisle. And I mean, by then they could potentially have a new manager, so that will be an interesting game. I'd expect them to do well, but then there's always this new manager curse that football fans love to talk about. But I don't know. I'd expect them to just carry on grinding, just start putting together results. I think they'll still be a solid team in this division.
Yeah, and I've always expected it from them. I think on paper they have a good squad, more than capable of doing well in League Two. There was maybe a couple of question marks maybe on Charlie Adam to start the season, but I think quite quickly that's sort of been wiped out. That he can maybe do it. It's still early days, granted, but Fleetwood, look, they've assembled a really good squad. I think they had a really good squad for their level, even with relegation from League One last year. In which they can certainly hurt teams, and there can certainly be a lot of problems. They can certainly cause a lot of problems to others. I think they're a good team, but as I said, they've got a little bit of time to rest and recover from that one now before they play Carlisle in a couple of weeks' time. But no, there's I don't they'll be disappointed, sure, but I think they can take great amount of I think they'll be pleased. I think with the start, I think, so to speak. But yeah, good win for Wimbledon. It's just one of those games. I never predicted it to be a special encounter, with the greatest respect. And I mean, the scoreline certainly suggests that, but I do think Wimbledon could have had more, as I've alluded to. But no, good win for them nonetheless. Accrington Stanley in their game now against Colchester. Accrington haven't had the best starts. They're another side in which they've conceded a hell of a lot of goals already to start with. And they're still waiting for their first win coming up against Colchester. I mean, they took the lead, Aki did, in this one. Really nice finish from Kelsey Mooney. I think they worked it really well, but another late goal conceded on their part. Another goal for Ben Goodliff as well. I mean, we're talking about him for the top scorers of the season. I mean, I don't think many people predicted that. Whether how long that'll last, who knows? But I won't be surprised if he's up there at this stage. It's another goal for Ben Goodliff, his third of the season. Must be a sucker punch, I think, for Accrington to again concede so late, in which has cost them what could have been another big victory.
Yeah, they're obviously winless, so they want to get that first victory. And being so close to what is an impressive victory against Colchester, where not many people would have fancied them, to concede such a blow at the end will be really disappointing for them. Yeah,
absolutely. I think if you're Colchester in particular, I don't think you can really complain about a point on the road. Even at maybe Accrington probably had the best of starts, but to score late on to secure a point, I don't think it's the worst result in the world, is it? It never is.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not awful. The fact that they've managed to pull it back from a goal down, it is decent. I think, if you go before, if you're thinking about it before the game, I think Colchester would probably be disappointed they've not come away with all three. I think Accrington defensively have been quite poor. So, I would have expected Colchester to really run away with this one. So for me, it is slightly concerning that they haven't. But, the teams are going to have these days where they don't necessarily have the quality to put those chances away. And, that's why we're all in League Two. So.
Yeah, of course. And I think we've all waxed miracle about, obviously, Colchester's business, and they have done great business, even more so on deadline day, bringing Anthony Scully. I feel like it is very much just Danny Cowley getting the band back together for what he had at Lincoln with him, Alex Woodyard that's there now, Was Jack Payne there? I think I can't remember that one, but Anthony Scully definitely was. From what I recall. But no, they've certainly got some good foundations to build off. And it's still early early days. I just had that in my vocabulary now. But but that's just very much the case at the minute. And I think on the balance of it, it didn't look like much in the game. I think the happier of the two sides would probably be Colchester, to be fair. With a point away from home. Accrington have let another lead slip late on. Not for the first time, because they obviously lost that one to they didn't lose, sorry. They drew to Harrogate, in which they conceded really late. But obviously I think we won't touch on this too much, but if you did see the stuff going on at Accrington yesterday, was reports of racial abuse. I think it was to Simpson TV, which is never nice to see. It's absolutely abhorrent, disgusting, and I just hope he's doing well, and hopefully that if the fella has gone out and said apparently he said that or done, to be fair, I hope the prick gets banned, to be honest. No place for it absolutely whatsoever. And you've seen some of the stuff in which Andy Holt has tweeted, but I'm not going to get into that. You can look for that for yourself. But yeah, any report of that I think is absolutely disgusting anyway. So there's that, but you can look for it yourself. But yeah, absolutely horrible for what's happened there. But that's that one. Just one more game to touch on. Barrow, they've started really well, haven't they? Win at Harrogate yesterday. They've been okay, Harrogate. I think they haven't been bad. A couple of victories, and there as well. And I didn't see the start coming from Barrow, did you, Jake?
No, it's just a surprising start. Obviously, after losing P. Wild and a number of their key players, there were lots of concerns over them. So to have a really good start, they'll be disappointed with having the defeat to Carlisle, but really good start otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. I think there was a couple of question marks on Barrow this year with Pete Wild's departure, and sort of how they sort of crumbled a little bit last year, because they did crumble. There's no pit, no bones about it. They did throw away playoffs for what they were in pretty much all season. But they're under new management with Stephen Clements, and they've picked up a few wins. Maybe could have had a couple more. I think Barrow had a goal disallowed, but it looked like they probably deserved it on the balance of play. And again, winning 1-0 away from home, is a really good result, and it certainly seems the case for that. But I think for a penny for Harrogate's force, I think actually not been world beaters, but they've not started terribly. I mean, they beat Colchester and they have drawn to Accrington. They did lose one of them, which I can't remember who that was actually, who they played. That was Bromley on the opening day. That was it. So, it certainly seems what I'd probably expect for Harrogate early doors, don't you think? I know it's still early, like I say, but it's probably what I'd expect early on.
Yeah, I'd say you're probably about right on that. They've been very inconsistent. I think dropping points at home like that isn't great. But I think that's the sort of side they're going to be. There's going to be wins you get where you don't expect them to. There's going to be losses where they probably should have got something out of it. Really, I think they've got Cheltenham next, so that should be a chance for them to showcase how they play at this level. Because, as we discussed, Cheltenham, they don't really do much defending. It's just attack. So they should have an opportunity there to really sort of, prove themselves at this level, and that they can maintain this level this season. Because, you just need that bit of consistency to propel you up the table a little bit.
Yeah, of course, and that goes a long way. We know how good Harrogate can be. We know some of the players that they have got. We know how good of a manager Simon Weaver is. I think they're a solid League Two club from now on. I don't think they'll be in as much trouble as maybe some have thought. I just think they're really solid all around. They do play some nice football at times, and they always have done, and they probably always will. But no, they'll be disappointed with that yesterday. Big win for Barrow, as I say, and which continues a really good start. So that's the end of the games for this Saturday. There's obviously one more which is due to be played tomorrow night. We're recording on the Sunday. The Monday night football, Salford City hosts MK Dons in front of the Sky cameras. And thankfully, we've got a Salford City fan and an MK Dons fan representing us here. We'll start with you, Jake. We'll do a little bit of a season preview, and I do want to do a little bit something cool just at the end. But we'll start with you, Jake. Obviously, not had the best of starts in League Two, so to speak. Coming up against MK Dons, who are up and running with their victory last week. What's your early thoughts heading into it?
It should be a really exciting game, hopefully. Obviously, we've made a lot of additions on deadline day, especially with Adelican coming in, which I don't know if he's registered to play or not, but if he is, then that could be a really exciting addition that will just help us with our goals, because that's been our main problem so far.
Yeah, I really love that addition, actually. I was really surprised that Salford have picked him up. I did see maybe a couple of suggestions that maybe if it was maybe the right move for him. I have my doubts on that, but no denying he's a very good player, and I think Salford have done very well to pick him up. I think, he looked settled at Doncaster, but, for one reason or another, him staying there didn't happen. But I don't think Doncaster will be too fussed with, they've still got Molyneux and Jordan Gibson started life really well there. Luke, on an MK perspective, you've obviously got that win against Carlisle, your first of the season, one you needed after couple of defeats to start with. What do you make of this Salford tie? Obviously, we have mentioned that they've not had the best of starts of the season.
Yeah, I think this is a really, really good opportunity for us now. We finally got our first win. We've had so many chances in the games we've lost as well. And I'm hoping that one win will give us the confidence to go and start taking chances against everyone else all of a sudden. We've got the boost of our deadline day signings. Well, two of them, I believe. Joe White won't be allowed to play. He wasn't registered in time, but we'll have Sonny Finch probably on the bench. I'd assume Thompson Sommers as well. And supposedly Liam Kelly's coming back. I don't know if he's going to be fit in time, but I think we're coming into this one with a lot of confidence and with a former striker of Salford's off the mark as well in Callum Hendry. So hopefully you can carry on with that form.
Yeah, hopefully Salford will not be wishing that he comes back to haunt them. You mentioned Joe White. I really like that pickup. Really, he did really well at Crewe last time briefly. I think he was early on there for the first half of the season, but he had a real impact there. And as you alluded to with Kelly, if he's back, then that's a huge boost for you. But it's a really interesting time. I'm really looking forward to watching this one as a neutral. One thing we're just going to do to finish, I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock. I've set a timer. I'm just going to sit back. I want you to just have a little bit of a to-in and throw-in. I know it sounds a bit ridiculous, but I don't know. I want to see a little bit of this fighting talk. And we'll see if we can maybe discuss it. We'll see. I'm going to try and find a way to maybe do something on Twitter after this, because obviously it's the first time on the podcast in which either our sides are coming up against each other. We've obviously got Kieran with me, but we'll do something similar to this with ours as well. But it's the first time that any of our sides are meeting each other this season. 1 minute on the clock. I just want you to just to and fro basically. So its time starts now.
Cole Stockton is going to show Callum Hendry what he should have provided last season.
Not sure about that one, given the complaints I've heard from your fans already. You're also missing Curtis Tilt, who is, let's say, well-versed in gamesmanship. So I would expect Hendry to run the show, to be honest. And then that's before you consider we've got Werner and Gilby, all our lovely little fluid attack. Any of them will pop up anywhere. I'll just thank you for the 3 points now, to be honest.
Well, to be fair, you probably will get 3 points. So hopefully we actually decide to get some goals and to have a good performance.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping it'll be another clean sheet, to be fair, because, we're potentially missing Luke Offord, but we've got Jack Tucker, who was in inspired form second half of the Carlisle game. So, really confident on this one, and with our improved squad depth of having a ridiculously big squad.
Well, ignore the ringtone there. I forgot to change that. But no, No, I like that. That was really cool. Yeah, we'll do that more. We'll do that. It was really good entertainment there. So there's your preview for Monday night's clash between Salford and MK. Like I said, you watch that game on Sky Sports, in which I'm really looking forward to that. But that's where we'll end this week's podcast. Thank you guys for listening, as always. Be sure to obviously give us a follow on Twitter. Follow our personal accounts on there. Make sure you go and stream. You make sure you go download the podcast and all your trusted podcast platforms, streaming platforms. Spotify, Apple, whatever that may be. We'll obviously be back again next week to discuss the next round of fixtures. The few, I think there's a couple that have been called off, but we'll make an effort next week, and if you can keep up to date with any other news. So thank you guys for listening. Anything you two want to add before we go?
Come on, Salford.
You don't.
There we go. I'll just say, Bradford, enjoy your evening. Enjoy the rest of your day. In particular, you lot. Thanks for the win. I know it sounds pretty there, but the fact that first win in 26 years, but I'm just going to enjoy this, and some of the comments have been grand. So all the best, and we'll see you in January. And as for everyone listening, we'll see you next week. Until then, take care.